we are going to explain how to speak about a great poet, which is Samara Courage, and we will explain his poem Kubla Khan. This poem regarded one of the greatest poems in the history of English literature. So today, who is supposed to be the leader of the lecture? Who will explain? Wujdan,
Yes,
Adil.
Senior.
Who will explain the lecture, the poem?
Yes, دكتور.
We will start
أنا-
with Adil.
يس دكتور، أنا علي صباح وعلي سلمان وخلود، وهنشرح القصيدة.
آه، عادل، علي صباح، علي سلمان، خلود، وحسين علي. Okay. So we will start with Adil.
يس
Okay, Adil. Read the poem at the beginning.
يس دكتور.
Okay.
دكتور، احنا
Go.
قسمناها القصيدة على حسب الاستانزات، وكل طالب لايناته وشرح.
Okay.
اوكي.
Go ahead.
يس دكتور. آه، دكتور كوبلا خان by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. I will explain the first line 1 to 11. Yes, دكتور. In Zanado and in Zanado did Kubla Khan. I stealthily pleasure dumb degree where else this great river ran drove severance measureless two men down to sunless sea so twice 5 miles of filter ground with wells with wells and wells were girdled round and there were gardens bright with sunways rails where blossomed many an incense sprang tree, and here were forests incense as the hills enfolding sun spot of glory. Here's the thought. I will I will shorten summary. Uh, After that, explain line by line.
Okay.
Okay? Yes, doctor. Explain in line 11. The poem beginning with the description of the Anad kingdom to its ruler, were the dam of pleasure for its ruler. Kabla Khan built along the sacred river, faces through cove, caves, and is not sunny with the gardens, full of flowers and forests with the large green and line one. And this line get a lot. And first line in line gets a lot of work down quickly. It introduces as the title character Kubla Khan and begins to describe the amazing setting of the poem. Senado, that stately pleasure down degree, means that he had a really fancy and beautiful place built. We want you to now right away that color is actually talking about a really a place and really guy. Kublai Khan was the garden, grandson of the legendary Mughal conqueror, conqueror, King Khan, يعني جنكيز خان. Yes, دكتور. And he built swimmer place. After that, Marco Polo visited Xanadu and held it to start the legend of the Ming fences.
عادل شيء بالعربي. قصيدة كلش مهمة، يعني حدث عن مفتهم ولا كلمة، يعني المفروض انت مرحلة ثالثة البرونسيشن ما تكون المفروض صحيح، يعني هسه المصيبة هاي تسجل.
دكتور بس كلمات
يا كلمات عادل، يا كلمات تبع حالة ثالثة، وهاي القصيدة كلش مهمة. انا قلت وش لقيتها طلاب كل يعني مستواهم كلش قوي. قصيدة كلش مهمة عادل وتبع حالة ثالثة.
starting yes دكتور starting actual health by Coleridge Xanadu as a knitting in mind as you does feel like real place a real person. Line 3 and 4, line 3, 4 and 5. The speaker begins to describe geography.
وينكو بالانجليزي جغرافي؟ وينكو حافل غير بالانجليزي عادل؟ شو السالفة؟
geography. Then introduce the river country. River Mongolia. By this name, some scholars think that this is allusion to the river. Health is a river Greek that was made famous and in a classical literature. The name Health might also make us think of the Greek later. Health symbol of the beginning. Coleridge is the already stopping away from history. He is transforming his place, this person, and this story into his own creation. Kublai Khan is definitely a poem as much about the journey of the mind and the imagination as about the really world. If this the partly partly and imaginary. Yes, Doctor. And from from line 6 and to 11, the speaker takes the speaker talks us away from this gloom, endless uh, governance, and tells a little but about the gardens around a place. They might have and not that the language gets fancy, fancy here. Uh, Sunwise, rail, the the line 3, I'm sorry, college often use the beautiful language to uh, illustrate example and rolling contest. Here the speaker is setting up contrast between the sickly stirring governance and the blessing uh, formula space around the place. He describes how the place is the garden that just means uh, is surrounded by walls and towers, while the governance were measureless line. This line, yes, space can melt. Everything about this place feels safe and happy. It's protected by the walls. It's fertile. The gardens are bright. Even the trees smell good and swings spring. Even though the forests are and sent to speaker mangas to make them seem conform, con, conforming to conforming to scenes. He tells you they are on cloud sun, tops of the greenery. Notes how the idea of the un, unfolding choose this little sunny spot spots and keeps them safe, just like the wiles orb around the place and keep safe. The nature world outside is the world and strong but within within the place while things are things are uh, beau- beautiful and protected. I finished.
Thank you, Adil. I couldn't understand anything. Thank you, Adil.
Yes, Doctor. Inshallah.
Let me give you a short introduction. Uh, Short introduction to Kublai Khan in summer of 1797. Courage was an illness, so he retired to a lonely farmhouse between Burlock and Linton on the so to retire or to have some rest. But in consequence of a slight indisposition and uh, and then had been prescribed from the effect of which he fell asleep in his chair uh, at the moment that he was reading the following sentence. They said that he was reading the following sentence or words of the same substance in Burj Belgium. He was reading this sentence. Here the Kublai Khan commanded a palace to be built and a stately garden there into, and those 10 miles of fertile ground were enclosed with a wall. So then he fell asleep and he continued about 3 hours in profound sleep. Uh, at least of the external scenes during which time he has the most vivid confidence that he could not have composed less than for 300 lines. So when he awake, he appeared to himself to have a distinct recollection of, uh, for example, the whole and taking he just was trying to remember the whole and taking his pen, ink, and paper instantly and eagerly wrote down the lines that are here preserved. But we said that he wrote about 300 line. Uh, when he was when he finished these lines, we have at the moment. He was unfortunately called out by a person on a business from Bollock. Then, when he returned to his room, found to no small surprise and mortification. So he forget them or couldn't recollect the whole 300 lines. So that's a short introduction. In Kubla Khan did Kubla Khan in Xando did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree. Uh, you know, uh, Courage choose this. He didn't choose that because he was sleeping. We have here uh, Alf. Alf. It means that David bubbled from the Greek verb albios, which flow into the Ionian Sea. Its water were fabled to rise again in Sicily as the fountain of Arceus. So a stately pleasure dome decree where Alf the sacred river ran through caravans measureless to man, down to sunless sea. So towards 5 minutes of fertile ground with the walls, towers were guarded around, and there were gardens bright uh, with seniors' oils, where blossomed many an incense burnt tree, and there were forests ancient as the hill, enfolding sunny spoots of green. So he gives us an image here.
فصل النت عند الأستاذ يمكن.
صار ليش قد مقاطع النت؟
قبل شوي دكتور.
يعني آخر شي إيش حكيته؟ طلاب آخر شي إيش حكيته؟
about alpha.
هذا هو؟ المقدمة شرحت لكم إياها؟
Yes.
هذا هو، البقية سهلة. ثانك يو عادل.
شكرا دكتور.
Who's next?
Yes دكتور.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay دكتور. Line 12 دكتور. But all that deep romantic chasm which slanted down of the green hill athwart of the cedring cover, a spongy place as holy and enchanted. And the us beneath a warning moon was hinted by women wailing for the her demon lover. And from this is chasm, within the silences a tremble sitting, as if this earth in the fast thick bands were breathing. Mathy fountain mentally was forded. A maid was swift, health and transmit in the past. Hog ferment floated like rebelling hell, or gave the grain beneath the breather flame. Yes, Doctor.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Doctor. Line 12 begins by singing now and even a greater a concept that in the following lines will develop as they describe the deep crack in the earth hidden under of the grove of the cedar trees. Line 30. In the overlays and intubations of the sound and rhythm to the ferocious parties of the descriptions while and describing the beautiful grounds. In the line 14, there is no artificial in the main place, is the unchase of the calcium and syphilations a magic on the even placed spot that exists outside of the man's, understanding the claim in the planes of the lines through are missing of the primitive well place when the whole of the entity of the joint together in these descriptions that convey a sense of the begin on the sobrantal. Line 50. Coleridge used in the smile to show of the dances of this the from Hans embossing gardens. The wearing moon describes that broad of the moon discards from fall, so lease on the lease of the feasible this of the mysterious Mr. Kasimoff and the Kimberses and the sport hunted, a woman crying in the engage. The findings on the mystery of this place suggests which on the its practice as they associate in the with such. From this custom in the affirmation equations the fourth every moment on the volatility in that in the frebbering earth round about a brain in the man breathing heard while dying. Line 60. At in the moon's light diminishes of the her demon lover and relationship between a human and the supernatural in the world and the impossible in the blessed garden of the car and the cold only, exact of the bisons and the upwell that chasm. Line 70. In my master's chasm on the pictures and the constant semblances very different from the garden's claim symbolism and the scarce point of the sexual and the breath imagery in these lines. The language makes in the easy of the picture the earth of the labor of the giving them breath the finitum. Line 80. The visions and the mastery of this place suggests in the witchcraft that in the practice of the right in the isolated search of sorting Rome. Line 90. In the from chasm in the Athanasian gates of the from of the fourth every moment, so fluently that of the trembling earth and the round about a bride like a man breathing hard while dying. 20. Line 20. The power of the Phoenician, that powers of the fourth, in the river brains, and the hot boulders, and the air toss in the weather and hot. The second makes that same, even later. That and the person of the machine, house bears the useful, heavy part of the cairn of the from. 1 minute, Doctor.
اوكي ثانك علي سلمان.
دكتور بكمل بعد ما نكمل هاي شوي اطفال يمي.
اوكي
Okay, Doctor. And the second makes of the same in the event later. In the treasure of the person and the machine, how spiritus and the useful hover in the part of the near. And the origin from in the later on laces shell of the gave. 21. In the similarities of the are used in the allusions, thus in the face of the first hog blows of the compared of the hell, and the second makes that same event later. In the treasure of the person of the machine, how in the spiritus of the useful, hover of part in the animal of grain from lecter in laces of the shell in the gave in the grave, that is within the fail and the kernel drops down. Immediately considerate of the grave is blown away in the point. So, thank you.
ثانك يو. who's next? Who next?
Yes,
دكتور خلود.
خلود.
أقرأ دكتور. And mid these descent rocks at once and together. At flank up mentally that secret rather 5 miles modern with amazing animation throughout with and dealt the secret river run. Then reached the givens measureless to man and sick in 12th leveless ocean and made this tumult قبل hard from far.
خلود جايتي هسه
ستريل.
تتهجين. خلود يعني صار لكم اسبوع ومطينا اسماءكم وجداد، ليش ما قايل القصيده؟
للأسف قريتها بس شوي متوترة.
ايش متوتأسة ومنو جاي يحكي وياكم؟ يعني عيب انتم مرحلة ثالثة، يعني تحشيبوني. يعني هاي قصيدة يا وجدان قلت لك قصيدة مهمة، مو مال واحد يغلط بيها. كملي خلود.
Interested for voice province where the shower of the mode of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the middle measure from the floated and the gales. And the midways descent rocks at once and over. Here we have example of Brosen fiction in the phrase descent rocks. Descent is the human characters, but the poet has printed this quality to Rex. Fire mills murdering with the amazing motion. The line about has a number of words beginning the sum contains this another example قبل college the describe of a pleasure dome and it is show that floated midway in the waves. It was bright with slightly and also and gives of eyes. There was mixed music of functions as well as of the games. The place was contraction of river, Dusink and wonderful travel of or characters as comparade in itself. And winter place the top of the building was warm because it was open to sun, while the lower lying chambers were kept cold by ice, which never melted by viewing together. Both the sun and its warmth with the games and their coldness. In NQ20, the dome profiled to be a marshal of river. It is quite social the gives of eyes with date formality, which is the opposite of the warm gravity represented by showing dome. Yes, Doctor.
Thank you, Khulud. Who's next?
Yes, Victor.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Victor. Line 35. It was Mercel of the rare device. A Sony pleasure dome with the caves of the eyes. Dimensal with Dolzman. In a vision once I saw it was Abyssinian maid and on her Dolzman she played. Sing of the Mount Apura, called I revived with me. Here symphony of song, such deep, delete to old wind me. That with music loud and long. Yes, Victor, I will explain this lines. Yes, Victor.
Go
Here
ahead.
yes, Victor. Here he described the place which had rare design items of design. It was very beautiful in the winter and the summer places. In this upper part, the building is open, so it is considered warm, while the lower rooms were very cold because the ice did not melt. There is whole world contrast between dome and the caves. Nature opposite, man the made, above ground and the underground, Doctor, and the underground symmetrical, irregular, stony, and the frozen, sorry. In lines, inline Clotridge introduced a beautiful black girl complement the picture of the romantic atmosphere. He says that he once saw his dream girl how came from Abyssinia, feeling her love for her homeland. From her song, her nostalgia for her country brought her from the country to land of the China, and she is one this how live Xanadu. The speakers ask him, return to feel happy, to be positive. The speakers rebels, voices calling to be the gods of the beautiful girl. Yes, Victor, she wants to go back her home and play with the girls in her country. She sees the Abyssinian, the girl, sailing, describing the power of the music and the effect on his imagination that will build the beautiful Kubla Khan the place in the seems very strange first. Doctor, they use words, sounds, and bring their vision to life that can revive the musical experience. Thought speaker speak wishes called revive music is actually what Clordage does in this poem. Yes, Victor, I finished.
Thank you, Ali Sabah.
Yes, Victor, thank
Ali,
you.
Ali Sabah, what do we mean by a damsel with a Dolissima? A damsel.
Dam, Victor?
Yeah, line number 37.
37, Victor?
Mm.
Yes, Victor.
A damsel.
Yes, Victor.
أنا ما
Uh,
أدري يعني شلون قوي. Okay, singing line number 41, singing of Mount Abua.
yes, Victor. Yes, Victor. It is means name of King China.
كينج جينا شنو؟ على صباح شنو كينج جينا؟ line number 41.
Yes, Victor. Victor. It is a place. Yes, Victor.
It's a place.
Yes, Victor. It is a place when the population of Zanda when he sits.
وجدان.
Yes, about those lines, she was singing about some mountains in this place named Apora, and there is I don't know why, but it is maybe because of the affluent that the boat takes. He mentioned the dams with the adult mirror before he say in a vision once I saw. So he
line
this
number
part,
41,
yeah.
singing of Mount Abua.
Yeah. She was singing about mountains, some mountains. It's named opera.
It's reminiscence of Milton Paradise Lost, where Abbasian kings their issue guard Mount Amara. So this by some supposed to paradise under the Ethiop line. Okay, he's speaking about unmarried girl singing, and she played. Okay, we have here in this part a change in the tone of the poem. Thank you, Ali. Who next?
Yes, Doctor.
You are the last one, Hussein Ali.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, Hussein.
Doctor, this is the end of a dream court. Then he interrupted and forget the rest of a dream. And says, if I could regarded within myself the sound of her interment and her song, it would bring me so much joy. I would build like Coblican pleasure place in the sky above me. Then he began to describe the place who will build. Uh,
Have you read the poem or not? The poem first. Read the lines line by line.
no دكتور بس
قال القصيدة line by line.
دكتور لاين باي لاين دكتور قالوا بس جنرال شو اسمه عن العشر ابيات الاخيره ما حضرت لاين باي لاين.
شنو جنرال؟ حسين مرحلة ثاني سنة أنا وياكم نقرأ القصيدة وبعدين نشرح. يعني أنت شلون جنرال مين يقول تم قارئ القصيدة؟ شلون أنت شلون محضر تريد تعرض وما قارئ القصيدة؟ ما أعرف. أنت شلون جاي محضر؟ شلون تريد تشارك وأنت ما قرأت قصيدة أصلا؟ وجدان
Yes.
صفر يم حسين علي، والبقية همين ضعيف. كتبي لي ضعيف. Okay, who can read the last part? وجدان.
Yes, just a minute. The last line?
From line 45. That with the music loud and long, I would build that dome in air. That sunny dome, those caves of ice, and all who heard should see them there. And all should cry, be aware, be aware. His flashing eyes, his floating hair. Wave a circle around him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread. For he on honeydew had feed, and drank the milk of paradise. Okay, explain. I have read the lines. Explain
Okay.
from 45 to the end. You can read the line by line and explain it because it's easy, not that much difficult. The second part is not
Yeah.
that much difficult.
From the 45?
Yeah.
45. So here, because make mistake with the lines in my notebook. That with music loud and long, and that sunny dome, those covers of eyes. Here, the poet describes the power of sexual vision. Not only can he renew his vision, but he has the power to convey or to all who hear or who read his words. And this perhaps these lines is unusual. Is used in conditional verb here, and the entire sentence become solution. If the poet can recover the dream, he will create a vision, paradise. The beauty of the vision will transform the poet and enable him to use the music of his poetry to build with words that what Kubla Khan had built in his kingdom. The poem
line
reads
number 45 till the end.
okay.
جاي يقول لاين نمبر من 45 للأخير.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, وجدان. Thank you, وجدان. Okay. Let me ask you, what is your own opinion about the poem? And in a brief, because I have too much to say it. What is your own opinion about the poem? No one? Zaha Assam.
Yes, about this poem, I think it is a vision for a paradise, and I think it is compared the human with the nature, that the nature is immortal.
Thank you, Zaha. Who else? ما شاء الله كلكم واقفين ايديكم. فاطمة حسين.
The most important characteristic of the poem, in my opinion, is the presence of two things. First, to show imagination in the poem, and secondly, the use of nature in all its form to express its feeling. And the poet wrote this strange and wonderful poem as a dream under the influence of Afyon.
Thank you, Fatma. Who else? Ala Nassar.
Yes, Doctor. This poem expresses the power of creative of the human mind and imagination. Imagery landscapes that are amazing in beauty. This poem tells us about the wonderful nature and describe it as a paradise. When I read this poem, I felt myself as if reading one of the tales of of 1,001 Nights. Also, as we know, this poem was written by the poem when he was under the effect of some of kind drugs. In my opinion, a person who has a title will create in his work, even if he under the effect any circumstances.
Thank you, Ala. عباس حسين.
Yes, Doctor. In my opinion, when in this poem, one of the greatest romantic poems to Sumail Taylor, and the beautiful thing is the landscape here portrayed in this in the poem. In the summary place of the in the summer place of the Marco and the Chinese Kubla Khan call Zenat Zandu what the does villas doing the all this beauty, but we must know Kubla Khan version of the language Chinggis Khan, one of the tailors of humanly, who shed to blade of millions and especially or special Muslims. And but Kubla Khan has not has not a relationship. I mean, sons have not relationship to a grandparents. Okay,
سامعك
that's all.
عباس. سامعك عباس. محمد كريم.
Yes, in my opinion, the poet imagines this beautiful and magnificent palace as a reference to human creativity. And when the poet relates this description, that if he remembers, I think from line of 45, when he a description that if he remembers that song of the girl, he will build a dome in the air, meaning that he can build maybe in his poetry such creativity if he remembers that song. And I think that this means that human creativity is diverse and can be
Excellent.
revived, but at the same time it is fragile and transient. This means that you can build such a palace, meaning such creativity with inspiration, and this shows us that the palace is a symbolic metaphor.
Excellent. Thank you, Muhammad. وجدان.
Welcome.
Yes, before my opinion, I just want to notice that when he talk about this girl or woman who is wailing, yeah, some say that he mentioned it as Eve when she was in the heaven and wailing her diamond lover is noticed to Satan or something. But my opinion here, it is not just opinion, but it is a kind of intertextuality between him and between a modern poet, not really modern, but it is his name Charles Baudelaire. He writes a lot of affluent and drugs, and he writes a lot when he is under the effect of them. So I will give my opinion about the affluent that makes this poet talk about his experience. And his way, it is not to take us a message or to make us study or learn something from this poem, but to express or feel his word, to feel his experience. So many people are ignored people who are curious to know extraordinary pleasure must know that they will not find an anything spiritual, anything whatsoever but nature, and it is double and superlative form. The brain is and the calls that produce extensively will only lead to ordinary and individual phenomena. And if it is true that they will be phenomena intense in number and in the mental injury resulting from them, and they will remain faithful to their source, a person will not be able to transcend off limits his physical and moral nature, or according to the impression and thoughts familiar to man or to human, will be nothing but a large mirror in which he sees himself. But it is a strong and pure mirror. So, infinite number of poems and sorrow and joy, we hear them, we save them, but we will forget about them in our brain, in our parched brain. So it is like the leaves of the virgin forest, like internal clouds, like Himalaya, and like the light falling of the light, they will be forgotten. But when the hour of the death comes, or a specific time comes, or the under the fume, our mind will remember everything. So that's about the afyun, what it did with the poet.
Thank you, Wajdan. Mr. Jaisa, in a brief.
Yes, my opinion about the poem. The poem explores art and romance used to paint the dream world. The expression of beauty
Thank you,
extends.
Saja. It's not your opinion. Thank you.
Yes.
When we say your own opinion, that means it's truly your own opinion. As I told you, I don't want anything from the internet to be regarded as own opinion. Okay, thank you, everyone. Let me explain in details. It's difficult to explain it in details, but I will give you some important notes, and there are too many. First of all, I expect that who will present this lecture should be qualified, truly qualified, uh, to to explain this difficult poem and this important point. Because if you do, if you didn't if you didn't understand it, you won't understand it to the whole of your life. You know, we have some important poems in the English literature and the literature of the whole world. One of them is Kubla Khan. We have many important poems. Uh, you, any student must have some information about them. One of them is Lost Paradise and other Kubla Khan. Like as we have plays, uh, singular plays, like Macbeth, Hamlet, for example, Dr. Faustus. For Kubla Khan, it's very important because he wrote it in unfamiliar way, and we have many images. You can relate this image to the romanticism, relate this image to the psychological curiosity or psychological illness. For example, you can uh, compare this poem to drugs and what they can do, what it can do, these drugs, for example. And even you can say, you can have special attention to the stanza of imagery. I will explain the unity of the poem and what Coleridge had done. This poem consists of three various paragraphs. A natural structural definition seems to occur after the first two paragraphs, um, which describe Kubla Khan's pleasures dome and Alpha Scared River. So we have two can be regarded as one, and the last paragraph, which records the poet's vision of a damsel with a dulcimer, and his yearning for poetic power seems on surface to be an unrelated fragment. At the beginning of the paragraph, the damsel suddenly appears with no overt connection with the narrative of first part of the poem. As I told you, we have two parts. While linking narrative logic, the damsel's appearance has symbolic logic related to the latent themes of the poem. Kubla Khan, the third paragraph, like Kubla Khan, who has a realm of singing Mount Apua, land 14, for example, which according to tradition is the site of the earthly paradise, as I told you, because like Kubla Khan, who decreed a stately pleasure doom, and Alexander, a damsel, creates her own scared ram by singing of Mount Abura. Mount Abura and 40, according to the tradition, or according to Milton, is the site of the earthly paradise. Both emperor and singer then are types of the poet who creates a holy place through the magical power of language. He said, I would build that dome in air, that sunny dome, whose caves of eyes and all who heard should see them there. I'm explaining the from line 40 till the end because they are important and no one explained them. Empire damsel means unmarried girl, and both are all these two figures are all writers, each generating an order and fight an image of static perfection. The dome is perfect, perfect half cycle in which to protect the poet. He said that he mentioned the word twice or 3 times, thrice he call it, line number 41. The world constitutes another measured cycle, for example, twice 5 meals, scare the ground, those Democrats is sunny and thoughtful. Democrat is sunny, thoughtful, perfect paradise, paradise Kubla Khan's decree decree changed the world of nature against the caravans measureless to man. He measured out. I'll return to the beginning because I have finished the end. So I'm explaining the point from the beginning now. He said that against the caravans measureless to man, line 4, he measures out his twice 5 meals, and against the sunless sea. He bits his sunny pleasure dome, line number 36. I'm giving a sunny pleasure dome with the caves of ice. Then he said, we can find his art is a human answer to a nature that is inhuman, cold, and dark. So, nature's own answer to the art of Kubla Khan appears in the next verse paragraph describing the origin and course of Alf. Alf the scared river. Nature here is savage, holy, and enchanted. He said that animate and animistic, the earth is alive, and the man and the fountain is forced out of the chasm with something like a bear's thoughts. It's mean the nature like a pain. The fountain is forced out from a hole from the wall, for example, like a pain. He said that, and from his chasm with ceaseless turmoil seething, as if this earth is in vast thick bands where breathing a mighty fountain momently was forced. However, the power of nature does not produce chaos, rather it yield an image of order with an unfolding vital process. The illusion to dance is significant for dance offers aesthetics design in the context of a plastic moving temple art. Uh, Choreographic, for example, choreographic pattern both manifest itself. Choreographic means that the art of dance uh, manifests itself in time and transcend time. Thus, chasm with its dancing rocks creates for each moment and for all moments. He said that and made these dancing rocks at once, and ever at flank momentary the carried over line number 20 23, I think. Let me check it. Which line? Oh, 1, 2, 3. 1 minute. He said that admit those dancing rocks and at once, and ever at flank at moment is carried over. Line number 23. And made these dancing rocks at once and ever at flank abundantly is carried over. 5 males maintained with a mazy motion. Line number 23 to 24. 23 and 24. So it seems that nature, with its active and ongoing creation, constitutes a threat to the static perfection of Kubla Khan. Kubla Khan's art, the tumult of the ocean, where the river, for example, embodies is linking with the tumult of ancestral voice of opposing war. So, line number 30. The reference to coming upheaval and destruction implies the transience of the dome and of any art decreed by humankind. So, if we continue line by line, you will said line number, for example, 32. He said, floated midway on the wave. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the wave. The description of the shadow of the pleasure dome floating, he said, midway on the wave, suggests a merging of art and nature. The dome is no longer fixed and static, but floating. Floating means thoughtful. So the reflection in the water is at once and ever. So if we return to line number 23, as we have explained, he said, and amid these dancing rows at once and ever, so we can compare line 32 with the 23. Why? Because the reflection on the water is at once and ever. Both transitory optical phenomena and an eternal vision. Then he said line number 33 and 34, he said that line number 30, he said that mingled measure from the fountain kind of transisia or fusion of scenes, scenes operations, for example, sounds merged with light, with sight, just as the art of the dome merged with the medium of nature, and its shadow suspended suspended in the waves. So there's a paradoxical quality to this blending or merging of two disparate lines. He said that it was a miracle of rare devices. Line number 34, 35. It was a miracle of rare devices. A sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. So we have a paradoxical quality. As heat is weather too cold, he said, sun and ice. So a miracle given to be a wonder that it fused with the device. I think Weld devised contrived the floating dome is both magical manifestation, nature's gift, and anatomy creation devised by Kubla Khan. Okay. In the last various paragraph, as we said, the second part of the poem offers another image of the relation between art and nature, with the poet strongly asserting the autonomy or independence and permanence of art. The damsel was a damsel. For example, is linked with Kubla Khan and the poet as an artist or originator, for example. Her singing out of Mount Abba represent the greater process as your mate said, represent the greater process both of in its association with primary joy. To produce delight, for example, it's to produce delight, joyful time, just as Kubla Khan doomed is devoted to pleasures. So he is between Doom and Lady. Both give us a magical effect. Both the Doom and the song advocate themselves have the power to stimulate the creative imagination. Stirring the boy to reach the prophetic vitality, for example, frenzy. Also, the damsel inspirational power is stated conditionally. He said, "Could I revive within me her symphony and song until the end. The poet does in fact call up the vision of and revive the song. The whole of Kubla Khan is the music loud and long, uh, which the poet builds in his dome in air. So the second part is very important because many images we have, and he used the short he used the easily vocabularies or easy words. His verbal artifact that makes that sunny dome, for example. The poets are driving from dream, vision, and memory. Is independent of nature, is an art of incantation and degree rather than perception or imitation. So, uh, let me give you another point of view or another notes. It's the important notes. For example, it's like a pose. Kubla Khan at the beginning described the circumstance in which Kubla Khan was conceived after taking a drug prescribed for an indisposition. He fell asleep over his book, as I told you at the beginning. Burchard's Belgium, a story of Far East's mean. He had a dream. I'm explaining or analyzing the poem as a pause, as a pause. Then when he awake, he wrote his poem, or remembered his poem. This account of origins of the composition implies a particular view of poetic imagination. Poetic imagination and the creative process. Coleridge writing of a dream suggests his belief in the strange power of the human mind, who can transfigure known experience and animate the world with internally new forms. The poet is not primarily either an artist or an observer of the nature, but a seer who can receive, who can watch the inspiration or the prophetic power from a realm beyond the nature. The poetry that spring from the supernatural agency is akin to a magic in its power to make palatable what has been only imagined. Coleridge, by emphasizing that the poem was given to him, Coleridge is not only stating a theory of an inspiration, but touching on a question of his own troubled creativity. His ambivalent scenes of dependence on external agent. For example, he was depending on a drug, as implied by his partial negation of Kubla Khan. As he depended on Kubla Khan as a fragment and psychological curiosity. I mean, because he was sick and he was suffering from the effect of drug, so they call it they regarded it as a psychological curiosity, but it's difficult to say that. His long-standing intention never uh, fulfilled to finish for himself what he had been originally, as it were given to him as a part of college intentional and successful effort to locate locate creative power by an active conscious will. But he attracted to the notion of passive inspiration, with the poet writing or the poet waiting for an infusion of joy, mental power from the outside. The struggle between the desire for conscious control and the longing for magical inspiration is evident in much of Coleridge's writing, for example, in both poetry and criticism. So, we can say that the tangibility and the hardness of the poet's mental image related to the lines in the poem describing the power of poetry to render real and imagery vision. For example, if you can look at نعم فاطمة
تعرف هذا؟
ليش؟
إيه، صار لازم
طلعي
ما سجلت حقه كم هاي.
For example, if you can read the part which no one explained it, that means the final part, especially line from 40 till the end. He said that. Let me read the poem. I don't know. He said that with the music loud and long, I would build that dome in here. The sunny dome whose caves of eyes and all who here should see them here, them there, and I and all should cry, be aware, be aware. Like in his position is the dragon spirit. The poet is a vehicle for the vision of the vision he produce negations of both are magical. They need only record or incant. What spontaneously arises within them to build something eternally original and real. So, in the second passage, Coleridge regrets his inability to recall a portion of his dream. So the Coleridge, when he was trying to publish it, Coleridge's Coleridge's publications of the work, despite of his own disclaimers about inadequacy, suggest the publications suggest that In some scenes, even to him, it had the statue of a finished artifact. The poem itself is unified by a single continuous theme and by coherent imagery. Furthermore, it's connected with other poems by Coleridge dealing with imaginative voices, for example. Those Kubla Khan can probably be treated as a self-contained, complete work of art. Coleridge offers, for example, within the poem and in the language of poetry, an enduring image of art. The introduction, Coleridge describes his own struggle for imaginative unities, a struggle which he feels is unsuccessful in the poem he presents. Despite of his tentativeness and self-doubt, the unity itself. So he was great in all from all the sides. So we explained an image, difficult poem, important poem. So the theme, we have many themes for this poem. We have many articles, literary devices. As I told you, it's important and difficult. We have many images. We can relate this poem to romanticism or the romantic age easily. We have many images of romantic age. We have many images of nature. We have many images of supernatural powers. Okay. I think I don't have anything else because we have finished about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Be careful from this poem because it's very difficult and read some concentration. Don't read it easily without understanding it. I don't have anything else. Who want to add? Who want to add? Any student want to add? Can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Ezra.
Do you want to add?
دكتور بس عندي موضوع أنا خارج
خلينا نخلص القصيدة وافتح أي موضوع. ما عندكم أي سؤال؟ فاطمة وجيد سد التسجيل. وجدان تريدين تضيفين؟
No, just a question.
Go ahead.